Hey folks, thank you for joining me today. Texture is the transmitter of taste. Texture facilitates taste. Today, I'm going to show you how we're going to change the texture of a very common product, starting with this pure Runny honey, and ending with this beautiful cream honey. This is unbelievable. Hang around, and I'm going to show you how we do it. Hey folks, this is Phil from Alabama Hot Sauce. That's alabamahotsauce.com on the web. Today, I'm going to show you how to make creamed honey. Creamed honey is an amazing product. It's smooth, thick, spreadable, and it's 100% absolute pure honey. Now, another ingredient's going to go in this one now. One little caveat. I also make commercially a hot creamed honey, and that has, in addition to honey, it has a very small amount, less than 1/10 of 1% of capsaicin oil. But anyway, creamed honey is a wonderful product. We're going to make it out of this, which is beautiful, beautiful, local, all natural Runny honey. So today's going to be fun. But to do that, we got to first deal with honey in this state. This is crystallized honey. It's grainy, it's grotty, and I happened to find it in a couple of jars that I made of, I set up some jars of honey, and I looked over and had 2 or 3 of them that were crystallized. First, I want to tell you, all good honey will crystallize. Honey is nothing but mostly sugar, fructose and sucrose, glucose, and a little bit of water. As a matter of fact, there's so much sugar in honey that the water is oversaturated with sugar, meaning the water is holding more sugar in classic runny honey than it can hold. So the way that crystallization happens, and it can only happen in pure honey, is that because the water is supersaturated, it pushes out sugar crystals. Those sugar crystals bump into other sugar crystals, and we have a little reaction going on there, and eventually the honey gets crystallized. Now, the crystals are all different sizes, all different shapes, but it's still perfectly good, pure honey. If you sat this container down in a bowl of water that's 120 degrees and let it sit there for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, it would turn right back into beautiful amber runny honey just like this. So crystallized honey is not bad honey. Crystallized honey is just honey in one of its natural states that all pure honey will eventually go to. Now, some honeys go there quickly, depending on what the bees were feasting on at that particular time, what kind of flowers and plants. Some honey goes there very slow, and some honey never goes there. It all has to do with what the bee did with the honey, where he got his nectar, where he got his pollen. Now, I'm going to make this honey out of this crystallized honey, and I'm going to turn it into this creamed honey, which is really the same thing. It is crystallized honey. The difference is I controlled in this honey the size of the crystals. And I did that with my mocha. Now, I've got in this container about 240 or 50 or 60 grams of this grainy crystallized honey. And so I'm going to put them in my mocha. And of course, the mocha is for grinding. It's for grinding with a little bit of hand labor, and I'm going to provide the hand labor and the mogahetti. I called it mogahetti, that's not habit. The mogahetti is going to do the work. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the mortar and the pestle, and I'm going to begin to grind up this honey. Now, what I'm basically doing here is I'm breaking up the crystals in this honey. Now, this is going to take quite a long time. And trust me, I'm not going to make you watch this whole thing. But I'm going to grind this up, and I'm going to create a seed batch of crystallized honey. But the crystals are going to be very, very small. As a matter of fact, so small that if you put them in your mouth, you couldn't perceive them. I want the crystals to be teeny tiny. I want this whole little seed batch to be completely ground up. And by doing that, what we're going to do is we're going to create a little seed, which we will then put into regular running honey. And that regular running honey, those crystals will start sliding out. They'll start seeing other crystals. They'll start making other crystals. And the crystals they make will be exactly the same size as the crystals we put in there. It's called seeding because we're going to put in some seeds and we're going to grow something that is exactly like what we put in there. So I'm grinding and grinding and grinding. This is a lot of honey to be doing this to. Usually when you make your seeds, you start out really, really, really small. You create a really small amount of honey. You then use that as a seed, create a little more. But I'm showing you how to take a big step. We're going to do enough here to make about 3,000 grams of this honey. You can already see that the crystals are getting much smaller, and this honey is changing color. As we grind these crystals up and they become smaller, they refract light in a different way. When they start refracting that light in a different way, we perceive it in our brain as a different color. So this honey is going to turn very, very, very light colored, and it's going to turn very smooth. Only when it's completely ground is it going to be suitable to use as the seed for making a larger quantity of beautiful Alabama hot sauce, cream honey. Now, I will tell you, this honey I'm making here is just for demonstration purposes. I'm going to take it home and eat it. I might hold a little giveaway a couple bottles of it. I'm following every one of my FDA requirements. The only exception is I'm not wearing gloves. I'm not wearing gloves simply because it's very hard to use this thing with gloves on. But I'm not coming in contact with the food. This is perfectly sanitary. Everything's been washed and cleaned and sanitized. So anyway, you can see the color's changing. The crystals are getting much, much, much smaller. I could even feel it as I'm grinding. I could tell that I'm no longer grinding big crystals. I'm only grinding smaller crystals. When we get this ground, I'm going to pour it in another little container. And we're going to use it to seed a larger batch of honey. Tell you what I'm going to do, folks. I'm going to sit here and continue grinding. It's probably going to take me 30. Look at this. It's already looking beautiful. Look at that. Still got a lot of crystals. Still need some grinding. But we're going to get this stuff looking good. I'm going to stay here and continue some grinding. I'll come right back with you when I do. When it gets this ground, I'm going to put it in another container. We're then going to mix it, and I'm going to show you how we do the last part of the process, which is turn this into a larger quantity of creamy honey. All right. For me, it's going to be about 45 minutes, but for you, it's going to be just a flash. So we'll see you in a minute. Okay, folks, I'm back with you. Only a second for you, but it was an hour for me. I ground and ground and ground. I transferred the honey into this little container. So what I've got here is, let's see, I've got cells I was able to transfer. I got about 300 grams of beautiful ground honey, which is ground into free honey. Now, right here, I've got a pot that has about 2,500 grams of pure runny honey here. Now, there are two ways that two ways that cream honey can be made. There is industrial machinery that allows you to pour in just the pure honey in big vats. Some of them do it in 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 liter containers. You pour it in, and without putting any kind of seed honey in it, you subject to a bunch of different temperature changes while it's stirring constantly around the clock, and it takes literally weeks, and it will produce creamed honey. Now, what you buy on the grocery store shelf commercially is usually done that way. I will tell you that using that method, my experience is it's never silky smooth and creamy. It always has a little bit of grit to it. The purpose of the creamed honey is to radically change the texture so it will change the taste. Now, I tasted this honey after I ground it. Even though there's nothing in it but honey, I will tell you, it had a distinctly different taste. It tastes radically different because texture is the facilitator, the transmitter of flavor. And we changed the texture, so that changed the flavor. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use this seed honey and this honey in a ratio of about 10 to 1. And this is known as the Dyce Method. That's D-Y-C-E. Professor Elwin Dyce, in 1928, was working on crystallization techniques for other things at his college. And one of the things he realized is that that technique could be used to control the crystal size of creamed honey. Creamed honey had become a rather popular thing. People would take honey that's set up just like the honey we use to make this, and they would pound it, they would grind it, and they would turn it into this beautiful creamed honey. It was very, very, very hard work to get a very little bit of creamed honey. And Dr. Dyce learned that if you seed good honey, or runny honey, with this cream honey, that crystals will grow just like crystals grow in other substances. That is a nature of crystals. This honey will all crystallize in crystals exactly the same size as the crystals here. So I am pouring, based on the Dyce crystallization method, to produce controlled crystallization honey. I'm pouring it into this runny honey. Now, it immediately does not want to mix because they are two completely different textures. So, of course, we're going to have to provide the mixing for it. And to do that, I'm going to use an electric mixer. Now, if you're fortunate enough to have out there in your home a nice, expensive KitchenAid planetary mixture with the 3 attachments in the ones, or maybe another brand of planetary so-called modern blenders, I am very, very happy to tell you they won't work. They will not provide enough cutting action because we're trying to cut into this and distribute this in the rest of this rather thick honey. So I'm going to have to use a traditional hand mixer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in here at first. I'm going to start out very slow. And you can see we are mixing this honey in. And we turn it. The object here is to super mix this honey in a way that distributes these crystals all over this container full of honey. And when you do that, it will cause, over a short period of time, matter of fact, the more you fix it, the shorter the curing time is after the finish, it'll cause all this honey to crystallize all in identical size crystals. Now, that hand ground seed I made, I didn't check it with a microscope. It certainly feels good on my tongue when I taste it. We just hope all the crystals are the same, but I will tell you this. Using my method, the honey that I sell, it is my experience that it's far smoother, far more evenly crystallized than any cream honey I've purchased. Honey made with premium machines, I don't think, or what I've experienced, does not completely crystallize as it should. This stuff is going to be smooth and slick as glass on your tongue. It feels amazing. Now what we want to do with this honey is we want to mix it for 15 minutes on and 15 minutes off. And we want to do that for about 4 cycles at least. We then pour this into jars that's finally going to be sold in. I put them in 10-ounce jars, and we let it sit for a week. And at the end of that week, this is called set honey, and it takes on a very thick texture like butter that can then be spread on bread, on toast, on biscuits. You can spread it on meat as a glaze. You can do anything with it that you would do with regular honey, but you don't have to worry about it running. It's not as sticky because it's not going to run all over the place. It's simply going to be beautiful cream honey. Because it is a entirely different texture, it's also going to have a much different taste. I find it to be milder, not quite as sweet tasting as raw honey, and it is absolutely delicious. Now, once again, I'm going to step away from you, and I will be right back. I'm going to go through 3 or 4 of these cycles, and I'll be right back with you, and we'll finish up the blending, and then we'll put it in some bottles. All right, be right back. All right, folks, I'm back with you. I've done 3 of these cycles, on 15, off 15. We've stepped up to the highest speed this blender will go. So we're at the end. I'm telling you, this stuff is smooth, smooth, smooth. I dipped out of slow just a minute ago. You can feel very few crystals done. So I'm doing this at high speed now. We're going to get the last few done. I'm going to show you how we bottle this stuff up and get it ready to sell. Now this Dyce Method, as you might imagine, there's a lot of labor involved in this the way I do it. The cream honey I make for sale, I do it in much, much larger batches with a different kind of mixer. I use a stick mixer, a big commercial one, that's had the weight modified a little bit so it will blend up a lot of honey, and I typically do it about 50 pounds at a time. So I'll produce a 5-pound batch on it. This way, it uses seed and not put in a 50-pound batch. So the labor is not so bad. When you go in the store and you see this for sale for, I don't know, 10 ounces for $10 at the grocery store, it's probably machine made. Matter of fact, it's at the grocery store, wouldn't likely it is machine made. It's not seeded using this Dyce Method. We are currently selling for, I think, $12 to 10 ounces. And that's a pretty good price. You don't make a killing on it, but there's a lot of labor involved. But the Dyce Method simply makes so much higher quality, in my opinion, cream honey than the honey making machine. All right, look at that, would you? This entire pot has now become beautiful cream honey. How about that? I think it's wonderful. Now, once we get it to this stage, we use some mechanism to transfer the honey into the jars that it's going to eventually live in. And I've got one here. This jar is will hold 10 ounces of honey. So we take the new cream honey we've created, and we simply pour it in this jar. I don't know, I know exactly where to go to in this jar. Equal to exactly 10 inches, okay? There we go. So there we have a 10-ounce jar of Alabama hot sauce, cream honey. This stuff is great. I'm going to publish a video. It may come out before this one or after it. I'm not sure. It may come out at about the same time. I'm going to publish a video of testing this cream honey on my favorite recipient for it, which is fresh-made biscuits and cornbread. I'm telling you, fresh-made biscuits and cornbread, Alabama hot sauce cream honey, is a delight that everybody should experience. Not once a day, not once in a lifetime, but every day. If you eat toast in the morning or breakfast in the morning and it involves bread, you need to be a buyer of cream honey. I showed you exactly how to make it. There's nothing more, nothing less to it. All of you can make your own. However, I have a feeling that after seeing how much labor this involves, because remember, to really do it correctly, you have to buy local honey from a local source. This is local single source honey I'm using here, every bit of this. Now, what I mean by single source is that when you go to very large honey wholesalers and buy honey, the way, say, a grocery store chain would buy it from a big manufacturer like Sous Vide, that is honey that comes from multiple countries. The common ones are Canada, Australia, India, New Zealand. They combine it all together. Some of it is summer honey, some of it is winter honey, some of it's seeded from one crop, some of it from another, and they mix it all together, so it's multi-source honey. This is all pure, local, North Alabama honey. This honey was from Coleman, Alabama. The seed was made from honey from Coleman, Alabama. And so this is local honey. Once you see how hard it is to make this, and remember, I've cut out several hours after this video, I think you'll agree that maybe the smart thing to do is to buy this stuff out of a jar. And like I say, we have it on our website. I sell it on the farmer's market. It is very, very popular in our farmer's market. I was shocked when I first started making this product. Every time I made 2 or 3 cases of it and took it to the market on any Saturday, it sold out. The first day I took 24 bottles of it, it sold out in 2 hours. So it's a very, very popular product. Once people see it, they recognize it. Now, one of the things that making honey with this method does do is when you open the jar of this, on the top, there will be a layer of very white, bubbly looking honey. And that's because the air that's in this honey obviously is going to eventually rise to the top. This honey is so thick that it will take days for that air to rise to the top. So when you open it, you can see, by the way, the little bubbles are already starting to do it here. When you open it, what you'll get is you'll get that little layer that's got bubbles in it. You got to stir this stuff anyway to use it because it gets quite hard. It gets like butter. So just stick your spoon in there and stir it in. It's all cream, so nothing but honey in there. And it'll break down that layer, and it may form again next time you open the jar. But anyway, that's Alabama creamed honey. It's made using the Dyce Method of honey seeding. I think the stuff is absolutely beautiful. We jar it in these little jars, and I think you're going to love it. Folks, if you enjoyed this, or if you have any questions, subscribe to my website and leave a comment. While you're there, do me a favor and give me a thumbs up, because your interaction with me by giving me a thumbs up and subscribing and commenting tells YouTube that maybe I'll send Mr. Phil's videos out to more people. And of course, after you give me that thumbs up and subscribe, ring that bell so YouTube will know to notify you every time I put out new content. Again, folks, I want to thank you for being with me and watching how you make creamed honey. And I will see you next time. Thank you. Hey, folks, thank you for joining me. While you're here, I'd appreciate it if you push the logo and subscribe to my page. I've also suggested a couple of videos that I think you will enjoy. Press them, take a watch, and once again, thank you.